What's up guys, your boy Lantana F30 back at it with another one, and that right there is the Kyostar cold air intake. Now, what if I told you there's an intake on the market that's comparable to the best intakes on the market, is at a lower price, and is of a better build quality? Now, it's not often you hear those three things in the same sentence, so if you stick around for the whole video, I'll talk to you about why you should buy the Kyostar cold air intake. Alright guys, so the first intake I want to talk about is the Kyostar cold air intake itself. The wheel horsepower and wheel torque figures are 10 wheel horsepower and 22 wheel torque. That seems to be about the sweet spot amongst all the intakes in the market. So I'll put the dyno up so you guys can take a look at that. It comes in a black aluminum powder coated finish, and it actually comes with an optional shroud that you can run if you so choose. I personally don't run the shroud because I like the sound, and I'm going for as much of the sound as I can possibly get, so I don't run the shroud, but it is there if you do want it. Another good thing is that the Kyostar cold air intake actually comes in at about $240, and you can get this on eBay, and so you can find this intake for a really good price. The intake has 3.5-inch piping and a 3.5-inch filter, so as you can see, the filter on this thing is just absolutely massive. It's definitely going to move as much air as it possibly can, and when it comes to an intake, you're looking for the biggest filter and the widest pipe diameter you can get, so you can move the most volume of air as you possibly can. Next up, the CTS intake. The wheel horsepower and torque figures on this intake are 10 to 15 wheel horsepower. However, there are no torque figures listed on the website, and there is no dyno guide, so unfortunately, you are going to have to take those numbers with a little bit of a grain of salt. But a couple positives are that this intake does come in a black aluminum powder coated finish, and it does have a shroud, so if that's how you want to run the intake, you do have that option as well. However, at the time of this recording, this intake is currently on sale for $280, and MSRP on this intake, guys, is $330. So to me, I wouldn't spend the money because you're getting a smaller filter size, a smaller pipe diameter, and you're paying more money, so just something to think about. Next, the MST cold air intake. The wheel horsepower and wheel torque figures on this intake are 13.3 wheel horsepower and, interestingly enough, 32 foot-pounds of torque. Now, that's a pretty significant bump in torque. The air filter size and pipe diameter aren't listed on the website for this intake, so unfortunately I can't verify, but as you can see just by looking at it, the air filter and pipe diameter are much smaller than that you would get on the Kyostar, so I don't know. What do you guys think? Leave a comment in the comment section below and let me know if you think this intake can add 32 wheel torque. Though unlisted, it does appear that this intake is made of aluminum with a black powder coat finish, and it does come with the optional shroud as well. Sadly guys, there is another but. When it's all said and done, out the door, this intake's gonna run you guys over $400. So again, we're going up in cost for a lesser product, so if you're looking at getting the MST intake over the Kyostar, I would probably think again. Alright guys, moving along, the next intake to get knocked off the list is the Injen EVO 1103. I'm treating this intake as a special guest of this video because this is the intake I actually replaced when I got the Kyostar. The wheel horsepower and wheel torque figures of this intake are 15 wheel horsepower and 17 wheel torque, so pretty good figures. This is probably because this intake sports a closed box design, meaning there's no shroud and there's no way to run this intake open. And that's one of the reasons why I got rid of it, because it didn't have the sound I was looking for, though it had good power figures. This intake also sports 3.5-inch piping, but another thing that I didn't like about this intake was the fact that the piping is actually plastic. It's made of polyethylene, which from an Injen intake, I kind of expected more. And the worst part about it, guys, is that this intake will run you over $420, guys. So if you have to have the Injen brand name underneath your hood, then more power to you, but personally, I don't think it's a good idea. Alright guys, last but not least, bonus intake, and that intake is the Injen SP1122P. The wheel horsepower and wheel torque figures on this intake are 10 wheel horsepower and 22 wheel torque, so it's the same as the Kyostar. However, they didn't have a dyno posted to substantiate those claims. Unfortunately, this intake, though made of aluminum, it doesn't come in a black powder coat, so personally, I'm not a fan of that metal pipe look underneath my hood, but some people may prefer the aluminum piping. Of course, the bad news is that this intake comes in at over $500, guys. So again, if you're into the brand allegiance thing and you feel like you just have to have the engine intake underneath your hood, then by all means, go for it. But to me, it just simply doesn't make sense because the cost cannot be justified. All right, guys, that's all I really have for you on this one. If you found any value in this video at all, please like, comment, subscribe to the channel, follow the build because more videos are coming, guys, and more drops are gonna come soon. So that's all I have for you today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.